So my name is Kristi Rigdon, and I am the coordinator of literacy performance here in District 49. I act as the liaison between the state and the district. I support principals and leaders and teachers within the district on all issues around reading. We bring in professional development, lead professional development. We have created key partnerships with lots of organizations in literacy and developed a READ program, a READ camp program that we run during our 2-week spring break, fall break, and then we have a 5-week session over summer. So I do all things literacy. But it all comes back to our students and making sure that our students are readers, because reading influences their entire life and especially their academic career. So really it comes down to that. And I do that by providing support to teachers and leaders and whatever they need around literacy. So I'm in a support role to help them do whatever they need in order to reach the goal of all of our students reading by the time they leave 3rd grade. When we first started with our mission and our goal to have all students as readers by the time they leave 3rd grade, it was about compliance with the READ Act. How do we make sure that all of our students are assessed, that they get on their READ plans if they need those? And that's kind of where it started. And now it has evolved to coming in and supporting principals and looking at their data and going into classrooms and looking at literacy instruction, to bringing in professional development and delivering professional development, to celebrating the accomplishments that we've had over the last 5 years. I would say the most common request is we're at a point now where we have gotten so savvy at looking at the needs of our students that we're at the point where our teachers need a specific strategy to address a specific skill within reading. And so how can we bring that support into schools? We were looking at our data as a district, specifically our state assessment data in reading, and we were finding we were leaving kids behind, and that's not okay. And so it just happened that when we had this intentional look at our students and where they were with reading and the impact that was having later on, or could have later on, the READ Act came along serendipitously at the same time. And so it was really nice that we could take advantage of the supports offered through the READ Act to propel our initiative here in the district. Our Chief Education Officer put up every single picture of students who were not proficient on reading on the state assessment and gave life to that data. It became personal, and put together a slideshow of all of these students and put it in front of our principals and our Board of Education. And from there, who do you choose? Who do you choose that goes forward and who stays behind? Well, we can't leave anybody behind. And so from there, we moved forward and were able to benefit from the pieces of the READ Act. Time over time, every single year we have seen a reduction in students with significant reading deficiencies. We've seen an increase in students who are at or above benchmark in reading. We have more students now who are proficient in reading by the numbers than we ever have had in the past. And so those are big celebrations. You being here today is a huge celebration for all of our teachers and families in schools. And then there are little ways that we celebrate. So if a student makes their growth goal, a school will do certificates or have celebrations in that way. There are things that we can't necessarily measure, like students feeling successful, and the involvement has increased with our families in our schools, specifically around literacy. That's evidenced by some of our schools do all school reads, one book, one school, where everybody in the school reads the same book, and then they have family events that come in. Some of the another celebration is that we have increased partnerships with organizations. So one of our celebrations too is that we have an increase in partnerships around literacy with our local community organizations. So we have partnerships with the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. Some of our vendors are key partners in our work and go above and beyond what the typical vendor might do. For example, Mayan is a company that we partner with to provide a digital library for our students, and they co-sponsor a Leaders in Literacy Summit with us. We just had our third summit this year. It's been the most successful so far, with 150 teachers throughout the Front Range who attended this literacy summit. Amplify has been a huge key partner for us here in the district. They provide Amplify provides the assessment platform that we use to measure our growth and our achievement in reading. We use Dibble's Next, which is the dynamic indicators of basic early literacy skills, to screen all of our students, and that's one of our methods of measuring our progress and growth with students. But as a vendor, they come alongside and partner with us. So helping us look at our data to see where are bright spots in our schools, where are we moving kids, and then really digging in to say, well, what are they doing? And how can our other schools learn from that? Or to help us identify maybe where some schools are struggling, and then identify what supports can we put in place to keep them on their trajectory and moving forward. Being able to read sets a path for people. It's a skill every person needs in any kind of job. And what the research has shown is that if students aren't good readers by the time they leave third grade, that's kind of the pivot point that impacts students later on. So it's very important to develop readers early in order to impact that trajectory, because the further students get along in their reading, the harder it is to remediate or fix those gaps that they may have missed early on. And so what we are finding is that even third grade is a little too late to be starting. It really, developing literacy skills really starts at birth, even, in the way, because parents are a child's first best teacher. And so talking with your children, reading with your children, learning the alphabet, connecting those sounds and letters before they even get to kindergarten is critical. And so the more that we can teach those early literacy skills of phonemic awareness and phonics and reading comprehension, and develop vocabulary among our students early, the better they will do later on in life. So the READ Act is reading to ensure academic development. And so the state has the same goal that we do in District 49, to develop readers by the time they leave third grade. So this is a piece of legislation that was enacted in 2012 that addresses that specifically. So with the READ Act comes supports through the Office of Literacy in Colorado Department of Education to support schools and families to develop readers. So it's financial resources, it is guidance on using scientific and evidence-based practices in core instruction and in intervention. It's guidelines in communication with families to ensure that families are aware that students have where they are at with their reading, and they may have reading issues. Guidance to schools on what to do to intervene for those students. So when I talk about the Colorado READ Act, to me it's legislation gone right, because it's legislation, but it also comes with supports for schools and districts. And how we have leveraged that support is tremendous. We've taken advantage of every little piece of support that has come out of the Office of Literacy at the Colorado Department of Education. Where that started was getting on to the Early Literacy Assessment Tool project. What that did was it provided DIBELS Next, the Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Skills screener that we give to all of our students to figure out, it's like a temperature check. Who needs more support, who's doing just fine, and we need to keep doing what we're doing. So that was the first piece that we took advantage of with the Early Literacy Assessment Tool project. The other piece that comes with the READ Act are READ funds. So every district is given, based on the amount of students discovered with a significant reading deficiency, every district is given per pupil funds to do what the district deems necessary. And so what we did with those funds is we invested in interventions. We developed a summer school. The other allowance that READ Act funds provides are money for tutoring. So those were the three major areas in which we use our READ funds. So that support helps tremendously, especially in a district that otherwise has competing priorities, right? Everybody has a lot of priorities that they're trying to fulfill. So it was nice that we coincided with that. It was nice that we had READ Act come alongside with us when we decided that we have to get our kids reading and we can't leave anybody behind. In addition to the ELAP project and READ funds, the Office of Literacy has an early literacy grant that schools and districts can write for. We took advantage of that early literacy grant. We have 3 schools that are grant schools. What that provides is outside consultants to help us identify where we need to look at instruction or intervention, or how can we, through this grant, develop systematic processes to improve our schools after, and that can be sustained after the grant is over with. So it supports our leadership. In developing our leadership. We have written into our grant to have instructional coaches in our early literacy grant school buildings. With a strong instructional leader and a strong instructional coach, then that trickles down to our teachers, who are our biggest influence on how our students succeed. And so with the work of the instructional coach, that person can come next to our teachers and improve their instruction, because that's what we can impact, is the learning, right? And so that was one of the other ways that we have taken advantage of the READ Act. Through our data and through the Early Literacy Assessment Tool project, they were finding that there were summer dips, particularly in kindergarten and first grade. As a result of that partnership through the ELAT project between Office of Literacy and Amplify, they put together a project called the Start Strong Project. 2 of our schools took advantage of the Start Strong Project. Through the Start Strong Project, the kindergarten and first grade teams have virtual coaches who meet with them every other week to look at data, to talk about instructional practice, and to really impact what teachers are doing with their students. So they sit down with them and say, okay, here's your data. What did you do instructionally to get the result that you got? And that again has made a tremendous difference for our kids. Yeah, I encourage school districts to use whatever means possible. I think what it starts with, though, is intentionality, because you can do a lot without some resources, but then when you have resources like CDE, they're not a regulatory agency. Yes, that is one of their functions, but what I have seen through CDE is that they are truly a partner. We're all going in the same direction. So it's nice to work together to go in the same direction, and it's about our kids. So I think the success that we've had in District 49 has been because we have this sense of urgency and intention with every targeted decision that we make, whether it's about what core instruction we purchase, what intervention we purchase, what professional learning we bring in for our students, how we leverage time, not just during the school year, but after school and during the summer. It's been about the intention. What is it that we want to achieve, and leveraging everybody to get there. Everybody from our board members, our principals, our zone leaders, our central office staff, support staff, bus drivers working over the summer to get students to READ Camp, our nutrition services to have food for those kids over the summer. It's teachers and families. It's a concerted effort by everybody. The thing about education, I think, is that there are so many competing priorities. And so we started by just making this an intention, right? Reading by third grade in an intention. But the hard part comes in keeping that, because it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to go on to another initiative. So that's when the hard work begins. When we've had our initial successes, that's when it would be easy to get distracted and to move on to something else. But we didn't. We've kept focused. And change doesn't necessarily happen overnight. We've been at this for a while, but it can happen if you maintain that intention and focus. So here in District 49, we do something called the Summer READ Camp. We also do this during our fall break and our spring break. It is an opportunity for students who are not proficient at grade level in their reading to get extra time, intensity, and support with their reading instruction and intervention. And the READ Act was instrumental in allowing us to provide this service for our families because it came with funds. During the summer, this READ Camp is a 5-week program where we continue the interventions that students are receiving during the regular school year. And so through Summer Read Camp, part of our goal is not only to reduce that summer regression and make gains over the summer, but also to build that sense of confidence that they can read and they can be successful, and they're among their peers who are very similar, and so they're able to help each other, which really raises their self-esteem and confidence in reading. We are showing less regression than other kids who are proficient readers, and we are also making gains in several areas. So students are growing from the end of their previous school year to the beginning of the next school year. The READ Act has been a game changer for us in District 49, again, because it has provided not only the guidance but support in helping our students become proficient readers. The READ Act, which was passed in 2012, allows for certain things. So it allows for after-school tutoring, summer school, kindergarten support for our readers, and intervention. So the READ Act has been a game changer for us in District 49. The READ Act has provided the guidance and support through legislation in order to help our students reach grade level proficiency by the time they leave third grade. The actual legislation allows us to and provides us funds to address things like interventions, which is critical, summer school, which we do through Summer Read Camp here in District 49, after school tutoring, which many of our schools do have in their buildings, and support for kindergarten.